What did that one teacher at your school get fired for? In grade school, the art teacher taught art for all the grades. She was known for being harsh and critical among the students, but adults dismissed it as kids whining. Then came the time where the entire school didn't have an honor roll because she didn't award a single grade above a C. He was a science teacher. One day in class he disciplined a girl who was misbehaving. She and a few friends conspired together to start rumors that he had molested them. The teacher didn't do anything, and the girls came forward that they'd made it up when they realized how big of a deal it was, but he resigned anyway because mud sticks. Shame. He was a good teacher. Edit. This doesn't seem to be a unique case. The amount of "was this at school?" replies is insane. One of students was a son of the director/head of the board. I caught him cheating on my final exam. It was a definition question, and I found the edit web page where he copied the exact answer. I, of course, gave him an F at the end of that semester. Like a week later, I was told to leave. He passed my class with a C without my approval. Edit. Just to clarify the situation, I saw him using his phone. I didn't tell him that. I just asked why he was looking under the desk. He said he was playing with his phone, followed by arguing that it's not against the rule to do so. The question was to define velocity. It's easy enough that you can phrase in your own words. Less than 5 words. He wrote 3 sentences, which was too good/detailed for a guy who doesn't even bother to memorize F equals ma. The definition was copied from the textbook. It was copied from one of the first Google results. The kid was known to do such things by the students and the teachers. Other students didn't give a shit about him, and most teachers didn't want to deal with him. I didn't care to argue with them. Her son, who attended the school, put KKK propaganda in black students' lockers as a joke, and was subsequently expelled. She wasn't fired, but from what I can tell, she and the school both agreed that it would be better for her to leave after that incident. Being a sex offender and not disclosing it to the Board of Education. Surprise, getting caught with 50 gigs of child porn will destroy your coaching career, girls volleyball, basketball, and assisting with gymnastics. Edit. RIP. My inbox. Some backstory. He went through a criminal investigation for what was found on his computer and never told the school board what it was over. After he had to register he never told the school, and since our school was aching for athletic personnel, no one asked. The teacher also had tenure. It wasn't until that he came invisibly drunk that the school dismissed him, but by that time several complaints had been filed about lewd comments he had made at the 6th grade females in the school. After firing him, a police officer came by to advise us that a week prior he had been charged for the child porn and was a registered sex offender. There was a lot of shit the school got for letting him work for a week. Apparently he went on vacation during his court proceedings and kept it under wraps so he wouldn't lose his job. Her name was Miss B, mid-30s, mousy brown hair, and the biggest kindest personality. She moved to my small town the summer before my senior year and got a job as the Spanish teacher at my little high school. She was from Kentucky, which is several states away from us, and her family still lived there. She used to let me drive to get fast food breakfast during first period, as long as I picked up something for her. She didn't mind me taking smoke breaks, as long as I didn't snitch when she lit up in the stairwell. She was awesome. I had her first semester for Spanish 2, which I aced, and second semester for Spanish 3. Mid-semester, she comes to class a little late one morning and tells us the deal. Her uncle had escaped federal custody in Kentucky and had fled. He wound up at her house, where she took him in. He's family, she said. Johnny Law comes to her house asking about him, and she denies. They leave, but monitor her and her place for a bit. They deduce his whereabouts and contact her again, letting her know that harboring a fugitive is a serious offense. She denies again. They leave while the warrant machine starts turning. She comes to school to find, if memory serves, Deputy US Marshals in the administrative office. She knows what's up, and she comes to class to brief us. She even asks if we have any questions. She was cool. A few minutes later, our principal, accompanied by our friendly school resource officer, knocks on the door and asks to speak with her for a moment and to grab her purse. Through tears, she tells us goodbye and that she's enjoyed being our teacher and wishing us luck in life. That was the last we saw of her. A friend claimed to have seen her being escorted out in handcuffs. Her house was vacant the next day. Her car disappeared. We were forbidden to discuss anything she'd shared with us in class, which means everyone knew about it immediately. We had a substitute the rest of the year. He kept a personal/private journal on a section of the public school network that was accessible to everyone, students included. He wasn't aware it was on the public section. It was discovered by a student one morning and basically entire student body had read it by the end of the day. I never read it because it wasn't my business, but from what I heard from others it described his sexual conquests with different women and mentioned he had contemplated suicide. I don't know if he was directly fired or asked to resign, but he was gone by the end of the day and never returned. He was definitely a little strange, tried a little too hard to be friends with the students, but everyone liked him, and it sucked that his career ended that way. I had completely forgotten about him until 3 to 4 years later I get a Snapchat video from a childhood friend of that teacher sitting in his apartment smoking weed with him. HS English teacher was fired in the middle of class and later escorted off campus the morning after students found his Twitter account. He used this account to tweet at pornsters, post nude photos of himself, threaten politicians, desire to try cocaine, and post his Amazon wish list. Coolest part was we learned his nipples were pierced from the photos, which for years was a rumor. A second teacher was fired the same year over the summer for getting with a student. I was on the yearbook committee, and I had to Photoshop him out of the team photo, since he was the coach. Edit, the Amazon wish list was bad, because of what he had on it, not just cause he had one. Thought that was obvious. That one teacher was Mr. M. He was our 6th grade science teacher, and everyone loved him. He was a firm, but fair teacher that made sure we all understood the material and even made learning 6th grade science material surprisingly enjoyable. Every Friday, he'd wear silly bright red shoes, and for birthdays, he would take a photo with the birthday kid with him standing on his head on their desk. Like I said, this guy was great. During one lesson, when I was in 8th grade, a student dropped a thermometer on the floor, broke it, and spilled a very tiny amount of mercury on the floor. Mr. M cleaned it up, but apparently not the right way, according to the administration. Once they caught wind of the story, he was forced to leave for apparently putting kids in danger, even though that amount of mercury would not even be close to dangerous. Everyone was crushed. A ton of students all banded together to buy him a new pair of red shoes. Last I heard from him, he got a great job in another school in the state, where he's loved by the students there too, so that's good. I'm friends on Facebook with him. I should ask him about what's new when I can. Edit, I asked some people, not Mr. M, and it turns out it was because he didn't report the spill to the administration, not just because he didn't clean it up correctly. Still shitty, but I figured I should clarify. When I was in high school, we had this one pet teacher that was pretty much a friend to my friends and I. He would always joke about things with us like sports and stuff happening around the school. Then one day he started talking about some of the female students with us, and it got really creepy. He would go on and on about some of them and it almost sounded like he was stalking them or something. But the weirdest thing is he refused to dispel with this fiction that Barack Obama doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. Getting angry at a student with a limp for not walking fast enough. When the student tried to explain the limp, she persisted that the limp was all in the student's head and was faking it to spite her. That teacher was a bitch the whole year, checking the pencil cases of only the brown kids during exams. Marked guys worse than girls because all of the guys are lazy. Had one student who got straight 100s whole, nobody else could get anything above 90. Encouraging students to run across the street after the lights had stopped counting down, etc. But this was the last straw for her. We were reading a novel in 7th grade that contained the word nigger. A student in my class said he was offended by it and said he refused to read/complete the assignments because him and his people had been subjected to slavery and racism and still are today in front of the whole class. The teacher responded by saying the closest you've been to being a slave is picking the cotton out of a bottle of Tylenol.